Hi, it's V with Crafting Daily Dose. Today I'm excited to share a stepped-up alternative for the September 2025 paper pumpkin kit called Fall for Toile. We are going to be using mostly the elements from this card here, but we're going to make it a Shadowbox card that has lots of depth and can stand up on its own for display. There is a place to write messages on the back. Almost everything that was used for this card came from the kit itself, and it's actually easy to do. I think you're going to fall for this design, so stay tuned. As I've mentioned, most of the pieces come from the kit. So this is the kit card base. All I've done is to cut it in half. So each of these pieces is now 4 1/4 inches by 5 1/2 inches in height. I'm using this beautiful die cut as well as the Thankful die cut that were originally part of the card. I've also stolen the fox die cut from a different card, as well as this cluster of pumpkins. Now, if you've already used up your pumpkins, remember there is a pumpkin image in your stamp set, so you can make plenty more. The main thing that we need to add are some small pieces of cardstock, and here I'm using the pecan pie color because you can see how well that coordinates. There are 2 pieces here. Each one is going to be 2 inches in width, 5 1/2 inches in height, and they have 3 score lines at 1/2, 1, and 1 1/2 inches. The other 2 things that I used are for the back, and they're completely optional. This little hint of color here was achieved by using a blending brush with the Cajun Craze ink that did come with the kit. And then I chose to stamp the acorns in early espresso ink, but if you don't have that, you can use that same Cajun Craze ink again, or black. You could also choose the same pecan pie color, or almost any other dark color that coordinates. We've got our supply set, and we're ready to get started. I always like to start with the stamping, and so I'm choosing one of these panels. It doesn't really matter which one, and I'm going to turn it around. This is going to become the back of our Shadowbox card, and I'm going to add some color and some stamping right here in the corner. I've got just a little bit of the Cajun Craze color here on my blending brush, but I really want it to be super subtle. So first, I'm going to brush it out onto the chipboard that I have down here. This is the piece that just comes inside your box. And then I'm going to very lightly make little swirls in this area. And that's it. Now you can see with the finished card that we are going to need to frame out a hole on the other panel that's the same size as the die cut. Now, I have the measurements for you on my blog, but really the easiest thing to do in this case is to use the die cut itself as a guide to know where to cut. So I'm going to place it on top of my panel and just center it to the best of my ability, just kind of eyeballing it there. And then I need to mark the lines with a pencil or a pen. I'm using my trusty friction pen. I love this because it's dark enough for me to see, but it's erasable, including with any kind of heat. So I just aim my heat gun at it and zap, the lines go away. So after I have centered the die cut, I'm going to take my pen, I'm going to mark these inner lines. Now, because of where the tree is, I can't quite get to this side. It doesn't really matter because you can sort of eyeball that, and the cuts don't have to be that precise. If you're nervous about doing that, just pick up your die cut, flip it over, and then line this back up with the top and bottom lines and center it horizontally, again to the best of your ability. It really does not have to be exact. Now I'm going to go ahead and finish tracing out the left side of my rectangle. And now I know this is how big the hole needs to be. Now, if you have a rectangular die that is at least this big, you can go ahead and use that. If you have a craft knife or the craft knife tip for the Take Your Pick tool, you can use one of those. I'm going to show you how to use the trimmer. On the trimmer, we have the lighter gray blade for scoring, and then this darker one is our actual cutting blade. And as a reminder, there is a little line, a little guide here on the side, actually on both sides, to let you know where you're cutting. And we're going to use that to our advantage. So I'm taking the panel where I've already drawn out my guide, and I'm going to line this line up with the track here where the blade goes. And when I close this down, I should be able to see that black line right in through here, through that groove. Now, I haven't pushed in my blade yet, but I'm just going to position it so that this guide here lines up with the black line, the horizontal black line that I've drawn. And I'm going to cut from there to the other one. Don't worry if you go slightly past it. It's fine for the hole that we're cutting to be bigger than the hole in the frame of the die cut. Now I'm going to keep rotating this and doing the same thing on all four sides. Don't stress if you go over the lines a little bit. It's going to get covered up, and this is really forgiving. This corner didn't quite cut, so I'm just going to grab it with my snips. Now that the panel is cut, we can glue the die cut to it. I'm quickly checking to make sure that the hole I cut is large enough and that none of that panel shows through. It looks good, so I'm going to go ahead and glue the die cut piece on. The important thing here is that I only want to put glue along the edges. Don't put any behind this tree here because then it will stick to the back of the card. I just think that die cut is so pretty. Now we need those two cardstock pieces. These are going to be accordion folded like a paper fan, and then they're going to be attached to the back of this panel. So I'm folding first in one direction, and then in the opposite direction, and then once more back this way. I'm using my bone folder to really burnish down those folds, and I'll do the other piece in the same way. Next, I'm going to put adhesive along one side. And then this gets attached to the back of my panel. I'm using my fingers to kind of push and line up the top and bottom edges, as well as the side edge. Now when I go to put the other piece on, I'm going to make them mirror images of one another rather than going like this. So you can see that on the left hand side here I've got basically an E shape, and then on the right hand side I'm going for a 3 shape. But it's okay if you accidentally have them turned. Okay, and now we add the back piece. Just again, double check and make sure that everything is right side up, because it's easy to get confused and flip something over upside down. I'm going to do just one side at a time, so it doesn't really matter which side, but I'm going to go ahead and start with glue here. You can use a different type of adhesive here, but the advantage of glue is that it allows you to shift things around and adjust them until the glue sets. And then we've got just one last surface to do. Now this time I'm going to scrunch up my folds and kind of tuck this underneath, and then I'm going to press everything down so that it lies flat. There, I've got it all flat now. And then when I lift it up, you can see the shadow box is complete. We've got our message panel, and all we need to do is add the die cuts. For the thankful sentiment, and especially for the fox, I'm putting glue on the card rather than on the die cut so that I don't accidentally get glue somewhere where it's going to make things stick to the back of the card. And there you have it. Without too much extra work, you'll be able to create a beautiful dimensional Shadowbox card, and you'll rake in all the compliments. Thank you so much for crafting with me today. I hope that you've enjoyed this dose of creativity. If you're interested in a Paper Pumpkin subscription, but don't yet have a demonstrator, you can find all of my links in the description box below. See you next time, and until then, have a great day.